Today I have a sweet and simple card using some very pretty cutting dies, papers, and a couple other fun things. So if you want to learn some of the tricks of the trade on this card, please stay tuned. Today I will be working with the turquoise suede paper. This is the 10 Tiny Things in Shadows cutting die set. So there's 10 things, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then 8 of them have shadows to them, so the main larger ones have these outer shapes so that you can cut those out and there'll be a perfect mat behind those shapes. And then I'm also using the Simply Susan double-sided paper pack, and here are all 6 designs, and there's 2 of each per pack. But they're a really pretty color combo with some gray, teal, like a yellowish green, and some lilac. And there are the backs of them. Alright, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my blank white card, and this is 6.5 inches tall by 5 inches wide. And it's usually the standard size I use. These blank cards can also be bought pre-cut and pre-scored from paperwishes.com. So I'm going to trace this right about here because I don't want the black and white border on there. I just kind of want the flowers to be in the corner of my card. So I'm just going to go ahead, take my pencil and trace it the old-fashioned way. Now you can also take an X-Acto knife and just cut it straight away without tracing it, but this is a little bit easier for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my X-Acto knife and make sure there's nothing under my paper here, and go right on those traced lines and slice out this shape. And I find it even quicker than using scissors, because once you have your ruler in place, you just slide along with your knife right along that pencil line. Okay, there we go. So now I have the perfect shape for my card. And if you want a white border around your card, then you would just slice off a little bit more around your rectangle. And I actually am going to do that. Alright, so I have my paper cut to the size I want. And before I glue it on, what I want to do is attach some ribbon to it. So I've got this lilac ribbon from the Simply Susan ribbon set, and you can buy that separately at paperwishes.com. Just search for it in the search bar and you should be able to find it. So I'm going to use some of my zips, and it looks like I'm running out. I need to get some more of these, but I'm just gonna cut a piece that long, and I'll apply, it's a strip of glue on this backing sheet right here. It's in the middle of it. I don't know if you can really see the glue strip on there. So it's running pretty straight on this sheet, so I can kind of align it. When I put this down, I'll put it around 1.5 inches up from the bottom, right about there. And then peel off the backing. And I have this piece of ribbon. Now what I did was I've got this long piece of ribbon, and then I just tied the very ends together in a knot and then a bow. And then so I've got my bow on my strip of ribbon, and I'll just place it down onto the zips right there. And I'll cut a little bit extra off the sides, and I'll use some more zips to attach this to the back. So you can use the zips and attach them to either the paper or the ribbon itself. So I'm going to go put it on the ribbon itself. So I'm pressing it down on the ribbon. Now the glue is transferred to the end of the ribbon here, and I just have to press it down to the back of the paper. Same thing with the other end. And there we have the ribbon nice and adhered to the paper. And now what I'm going to do is apply 2 more pieces of zips to just the edges of the ribbon here, and that'll ensure that the ribbon itself sticks down to the card. There we go. And for the rest of the card, what I'll use is some glue stick. If I could find my glue stick. There we go. So I'll apply glue stick along the edges of the rest of the paper. There we go. A little in the middle. And center it right on that card. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to use my embosser, and I have all the platforms I need here in this stack. So I've got platform D on the bottom, then platform C, then I have platform B, which is a thin plastic platform, and then I have the magnetic shim, which helps keep the metal dies in place, and then finally the cutting platform, which is where the blades will cut into when they go through the paper. So between the magnetic shim and the top piece, I will place my butterfly die with the blades facing up, very important. And if you have an embosser, they recommend cutting on both sides of this cutting platform so that you can have the platform not warp too much on you. Mine is starting to curve slightly, as you can see here, kind of like this. So I'm going to cut on the side that's kind of cupped so that the platform can start to straighten out. So I'm going to place my die like this. I like to place my dies going through my machine with the, I guess you could say, the narrowest way possible. For example, I'm not going to place it like this because all the pressure will be on the widest part. So if you place it like this, all the pressure is going to be on a narrower plane, I guess you could say. The butterfly is actually a poor example of that, but in general I like to do that because it helps cut through, especially if you're cutting through thicker material. It helps cut cleanly through all of the pieces. Alright. So turn on my embosser, and I've got my sandwich all straight here, and I'm just going to feed it through. Okay, see how this turned out? And I'll get my platforms out of the way here. Now for this die, if you turn it over, you'll see a bunch of holes. That's going to help remove the shape and all the little innies from your die. So what I like to use is this Spellbinder's Tool-in-One, which has this rolling stiff brush tool that if you brush over these holes, they're supposed to poke into all these holes instead of trying to go through them one by one. They just kind of roll over it and it cleans out those holes. Now the ones that are not coming out, you can always poke out individually. But let me just see here. That did a pretty good job. And there's my turquoise butterfly. Now I also have this piece of plain white vellum, which is found in multiple places, but you can also get it on paperwishes.com. Just plain white vellum, and I'm going to cut the shadow of the butterfly out of the vellum. Now I have 3 butterflies and then 3 vellum shadow pieces here. So what I'm going to do is put my butterflies onto my vellum, just connecting them in the middle, and I'm going to do that with little pieces of zips here. So all I need is a really short snip of them. So I'll go to the back here and line it up to be in the middle of the butterfly body. Peel off the backing and then carefully center it onto my vellum shadow here. And then I'll do the same thing for the turquoise ones. I want them to be attached just in the center so that the delicate wings can kind of lift up and add some more dimension to your card. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now just with my fingers I'm going to curl up the wings on either side of that glue dot and kind of curl back. And if you have like a pencil, that might be, here's a small paintbrush I have. It might be better to try and curl them back a little bit. So you've got the butterfly on here and then you've got the vellum curling back just a bit. Kind of like that. You can see how that's kind of fluttering. So now I'm going to take another piece of zips and attach it to the card, and then I'll have some butterflies fluttering around. Okay, so before I glue on my butterflies, I'm going to stamp using the Simply Susan stamp set, and I'm going to use this one, Do Something Every Day That Makes You Smile. And I'm going to use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. And since this was a brand new stamp, I took my kneaded gummy eraser here and I prepped it to get off all that glossy, shiny coating so that my ink won't bead up. And I'm just gonna ink up that stamp pretty evenly, as even as it can, and stamp it right in this corner. There we go. And it looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to take some foam tape to attach my butterflies. Now I'm just going to attach them in the center of the butterfly like that. So you might see a little bit of foam tape, but that's not going to bother me. So this one's gonna go, we've got 2 down here, 1 up here, or 2 up here, 1 down here, kind of working as I go here. So that one will go right about here, and then have these like this. last one. Be right about there. Okay, so now look how poofy my butterflies are. They're kind of popping off the card here, and I'm just going to add a couple little sparkly things to set them off. So these are the lavender Say It with Bling rhinestones, and the package comes with 72 pieces. I've used up a couple rows of them already, but I'm going to take my X-Acto knife to help me place them. And these are all separate, and they each have adhesive on the back. So I'm just going to take my adhesive knife to help me place them here, right in the middle of each of my butterflies. I love the way that looks. And there we have it. Alrighty then. My card is finished. I think it's simple enough to do multiples of these because it's so cute, and you can even use different greetings from the stamp set. So the cutting die set, I just want to revisit because there's so many shapes on here. So we've got that butterfly. See, I've only used 2 of the cutting dies out of this whole set. So there are you're actually getting 18 separate cutting dies, 10 images here, but 8 of them have shadows around them, so that's an extra one for 8 of them. And you've got flying things up here, and then we've got heart, and then the 2 flowers with the leaves, and I think this is a really, really great set to have. So stay tuned for this week's bundle, and thank you so much for watching. See you again next week. Have a great week. First in the bundle I have the Simply Susan paper pack, which comes with a dozen papers. It comes with 2 of each of these 6 papers. So here's the beautiful corner design paper, and it's got a gray texture to it. Then we have, it's almost like a houndstooth pattern with turquoise and gray, and then this beautiful doodly flower pattern, which I absolutely love. More gray, nice for journaling and doing things with words and details. A black and almost a lime green, kind of like a houndstooth pattern. And then a very faint kind of chevron pattern with the lilac. And then on the reverse, we have more. This one has a really awesome chevron pattern, which I love. A darker gray, almost black. This is a teal flower pattern. This is that yellowish green black and white dot, and a lilac small dot. So those are all the papers in the Simply Susan paper pack. And there's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of turquoise suede paper, which is a nice soft velvety paper. Perfect, and it does cut with the cutting dies perfectly, so if you're wondering. And then all of these pretty cutting dies. These are the 10 Tiny Things in Shadows cutting dies set, and so there are 10 shapes. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 main objects, and then 8 of them have the shadows around them, the main ones. So what they mean by shadows is that this cuts out a shape that will perfectly shadow this shape. So it's basically matting the bumblebee for you, so you don't have to cut it out yourself. And you can also use some of the shapes shadows on their own, such as the butterfly shape. If you wanted a generic shape, you could even put like a little greeting or sticker on there, or the heart shape shadow. And then this inner heart is a more ornate heart too. So we've got 2 birds, 2 butterflies, a bee, 2 flowers, leaves, heart, and then a tiny heart as well. And those are all the items in this week's bundle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.